Okay. All right. So anyway, as they join, along doing well, I'm going to be recording this webinar today, like the other ones that we've done in the past. So you can always go back and then to the webinar section and see the recording of what we talked about in those webinars. So today's webinar is about how to create an infographic from scratch in Koantic and animate it. So we will go to 4 phases. The first one, I'll show you like an end product once already been built. And then on the step 2, we're going to start from a blank page, start from scratch, and then really build it from the ground up. All of these, the graphics, look and feel, the setup, the display, and then once it's done, on the third step, we'll present how to add animations to these different objects or interactions that we have on the infographic. Then create a timeline so we can display these things gradually, like on a span of 10 seconds. And as we create things in Koantic, I'll just cover it at a high level on the last point, the point 4, how teaming works, because you'll see that we have powerful teaming in Koantic. I think just that feature alone is worth the webinar, but I will just cover how to kind of create or insert your own branding colors and themes in Koantic. So as you create content, it will reflect your company's look and feel. So on the step 1, so let's see this infographic that we're going to create. So this is a sample infographic that we have in Koantic. Let us release in version 5.5, and when we add pages, we added about almost like 40 new templates that you can choose from, copy, and change the way that you want to. So you don't have to start from scratch because we have a lot of options to choose from. But let's say you have something that you want to build that doesn't exist in our list of templates. You can always obviously ask us to add more templates in the future. Or you say, okay, perfect, nothing exists there, but I'm going to use the concepts in Koantic, and I will start building them, from the beginning, and add all of my shapes, icons, and text, and then build it from 0 to 100%. So let's get started. And on the step 1, and now we see the infographic, we will start from a blank page with nothing on it, and then we will build this process flow from the ground up. So as we get started, obviously now we're faced with a blank page. Typically, when I build an infographic, or someone on our side builds infographics, what they do first is we can look at to place items, like display a grid that would allow us to view things, how they've been positioned. So I can work from a different grid size. I used to work with 40, so I think it gives me enough precision to have things really well aligned on the left, right, top, and bottom. But we'll cover more advanced placement features in our solution. You can also do the snap to grid, but in our case, we won't need it for this infographic. So step 1 is let's create like these arrow shapes that we have. So I'm going to go on the shape and then click the ones that we have here. So in this case, I'm going to use this one, and we'll make it slightly longer. So since we have like these 5 steps that we have, we can create the first one. And typically, what we do is, so it looks like we can probably put 5 here. We do the copy paste. So I click on my interaction here. I do a Control-C and Control-V. And my first step is just to place everything first, and then we'll look at the coloring and the text as a second step. 3, 4, and 5. So I'm going to try to place them here. Let's just place them roughly into our. So it looks like it covers just about everything. That's fine. So now, but I'll see that they're all disorganized, not properly aligned. So we're going to click on all of them by doing a Control-click on using our keyboard. And on the right panel, we have this Arrange feature. So what we do in Arrange is we click on it. Then we have some options. We can look at the size of all of these things. So I'm going to do like 260. And I think as a height, I'm just going to go to something slightly smaller. I can just get them all to the same height. That's fine. They're all of the same size, so that's good. Step 2 is on the align. I want them to be properly aligned. So I'm going to look at I can use the top middle. Doesn't matter at this point. Let's see. I use the middle. So they're now really well aligned on our grid. And my third step is on the distribute function. I want them to be properly spaced. All of them has to be spaced equally. So they're from like the first sheet that we have to the second, third, fourth, or fifth. So I can use the distribute function to distribute horizontally. And now I know that each of these shapes now have the exact same spacing between all of them. And I can still use my keyboard with the arrow function to kind of like maybe move into the left or to the right or just top or down. So I can use that to kind of center them on my page. So now that looks good, I'm going to be adding my information. This will be my step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and step 5. Next is now I want to really, obviously they all look the same, they all have the same color. I want to use our coloring features and our theming features to make them all different. So I can click on each of them, and on the right panel and in the appearance section, when I click on it, I have a bunch of options to work with. I can either look at the predefined model that I have here with some gradient features or some shadows, or I can just go into my field section and just color them one by one. So when I choose field, I have the options to fill using just a full color to fill the whole thing. I can use a gradient, so that means I can use like 2 colors and have kind of like the gradient features that allows me to have some kind of like, if you like these kind of design, we can use that, or I can even use to fill with an image to use that as our background for our shapes. Let's stick with the full color for the time being. And so each of them, I'm going to use my theme colors. When I open up the color picker, I can see that on the top left, I have here my theme colors. So these are already selected from the theming that I chose to build this course on. And we will look at that into more details on the point 4 of our presentation. So I want to use this one here for my first step. Then I click choose. Then step 2 here, I'm going to use another fill color. I'm going to use that one here. Then it doesn't matter how do I pick him. Then I can just, it doesn't matter of styling preferences and how you like them to be displayed. Then I can use my red here and make it more colorful. And then I can use my one here. I'm going to keep the one. So now I've got like all of my steps have different colors and they properly align on my grid. So I really have accomplished my first item. What I can do now is that if I don't need the grid anymore, I can just remove the grid here, click again, and then to make it disappear. So on the show grid, I just put it to off, and now it's going to be hidden from my view. So I want to be working from a much cleaner slide without any grid features that will be displayed there. So now, as a next step, I want to add icons on each of them, because if you look back at our previous example that we showed, see, I got like these 5 icons at the top and some text at the bottom and a title. So let's go with the icons. I can just choose it doesn't matter what do I choose first. I can just take this one for now, and I'm going to change them one by one after. Same concept here. And what I'm going to apply is I look at my icon position, my icon size, and what I can do now that it looks fine as far as from the sizing perspective, do the same thing that we've done before, Control C, Control V, and I'm just going to make sure that, because as I copy them, they all take the sizing of the one that I've copied from. So if I do the 5, Control C, Control V, then I get all my icons properly placed, and same thing that I've done before. I want them to be obviously properly aligned and distributed. So I can just go to my arrange feature, align middle, distribute horizontally, and then now they all look good, and I can just get them positioned wherever I want to. So now that I've done this, I've got my icons. I can just go now and choose the icons that will, obviously, I want 5 different icons with the same color as the one that we've seen in the example. So choose icon, and the first one, I just want to search for a house. Then I'm going to use my house here. So then icon here. Step 2 is this one was a computer, if I remember. Yeah, computer. I can use a laptop here, and I want it to be filled with my color for my thing here. So I'm going to use my color scheme. Then step 3 here, same thing, choosing my icon. This one was a truck, I think, yes. Let's use this one here and apply the same color. I'm going to use the R green. Then step 4 is this one here was a, I think it was like the comment. Yes, the comments. And then the same thing, we're going to choose the color. This is the red one. I'm going to go choose my team color. And on the step 5, this one was a graph. So this one here. And this team color. So now all of my icons are of the same look and feel as the step that are described below. So my step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I can just do the next step by our next phase is just now to add our 5 text box underneath. So in Koantic, as you build content, you can, when you add some text or anything that you add in Koantic, either be like, shape, button, text, or icons. You can kind of predefine some styling guidelines that you can choose from when you build something new. So I can choose from the predefined text styles that I've already saved, or I can just do a basic text, that we have here. Or choose from some of the Koantic presets that you can that are being linked with your theme colors. So for now, I'm just going to use the simple text box transparent. Put it here, and then that could be of step 1. When I want to apply this, let's see, it's about the right size. And I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to do it fast because now that we are getting to be pros with Koantic, I can just do the same step. And 5, and I'm going to place them here. Click on all of them. Use my arrange feature because I don't want to do them one by one. Distribute, and now I've got my steps. And step 3, step 4, step 5. So this thing can be, so we were able to kind of like create something pretty simple, just a quick, 5-step, process flow with some icons and some text that can be done in a matter of minutes in Koantic. Once you get a hang of it and you see, all right, I can really work with my theme colors, define my text box, and then use my icons, and I can kind of place my things. And using the our different features in Koantic to place everything together, we can work with the arrange feature, change the size of many objects at once. We can obviously lock the aspect ratios. If we make them bigger, they will respect the ratio of the size that we have. And then use with the align feature to make sure that they are really well set. We have this one below called the angle. I can always click on them, and I want to make them slightly, with a different angle so they can be displayed differently. It can be like my 5. All my steps are good, but each step has makes the arrow point upward, so I can use the angle. But I just want to keep them straight for now. Then I use my undo feature here, undo, and then they're back to where they were before. And the last part I was missing, it was just the text at the top. So I'm going to use again the text feature to put my heading here, and then I can just call it my process flow. And I want my process flow here. And I want this one here to be aligned with my first arrow. So I want the process flow here to be aligned with the left, so that they'll look well, that you're being well displayed. So I just click on my align feature again, click on left, and now the title is well aligned with the step underneath. So once we get this here, then that's going to be, now we've done the layout of this process flow. What we can do if you want to make things more interactive, and we've covered that like in the webinar around interactive videos, but I could say I can make things clickable so that people can click to have more information. So I won't go into details, but just I want to show you that by clicking on any object that you have here or any interactions, if I click on them, I'm going back to my right panel. We have the arrange feature, and we have the appearance that we've seen. So I want to make it like look whatever I want to with fill colors, borders, rounded things, shadows, padding, everything else. But the section below called behavior. Now I want to be able to, I want to make things clickable. So I could say I want this each of these icons that the user can click on them and view more information about this step of the process. So we can use the action on click thing to add things like navigate to a page, show a tooltip. It could be something as simple as just a basic text tooltip or a video tooltip, link to a web page, download a file, whatever that you want to connect with. Then it can be done, and I can just click. We'll just do one example because it's the same. Once you know one, then you can apply it to all of your items in this infographic. So, process text description. Little more details, and then same thing here. We can just work with all look and feel. I want to make them this color as a pop-up, make it slightly bigger. Click on done, done, and now this icon is clickable. So if I click on it as a learner, I would have a pop-up that would show the more information about this step of the process. So that's the thing that you can use with Koantic. So now that we've done our second phase is we have this infographic that we had before that looks like this, well, it looks like this smaller, but you get the idea that we can kind of like use our existing template, copy it, or if you start from scratch, you just use typically our shape features to build things the way that you want to. You can insert images, icons, buttons, and text. Then now I've done my process that looks like this here. So it's close enough, but you get the idea of how easily we can build something from scratch and make it look the way that we want to. Now that it's here, it's cool, it's fine. But since we want to add some audio to our slide, make things a bit more interesting, not too static, but I want to make them things flow on a timeline that I want to insert in this slide. So to make this slide with some time and I want things to be displayed gradually on a span of 10 seconds, I can go to my slide here at the top. Then I can do like add an audio file, or I can just add some time. And in this case, I want to have just a background music. It could be a narration. I can use my here click to add an audio recording of yourself talking about this slide and display things based on what you're talking about in the audio. So you can say I'm talking about step one, and only step one is visible. When I reach to talk about step two, then now step two becomes visible on my slide. To see how it's done, I'm just going to put some background music to test it out. Select, and then now we have, as you can see now at the bottom, we have a 10-second slide with a background audio that lasts 10 seconds. Now, obviously, what we want is not everything to be displayed at once. So to make this happen, I can go. I can do the following. I can click on these three things here. Because I want step one to appear after 1 second. Once I click on them, on my right panel, I can apply the same things to one or many interactions at the same time. So in this case, I want them to start. Look at the timing here at second one. I click on second one, and then now these three things will appear at second one and will be displayed until the end of the slide. And just right below here, I can choose which animation I want to use to display when these items appear on my timeline. I can use this. I can use a flip and bounce for this one here. So now let's apply for all of these 5 steps. It will be the same concept on all of them. I click on my 3 things here, 1, 2, 3. Now I want them to be at second 3. I click on second 3, and then now this is when they will appear on my timeline. And I'm going to choose a different. I'm going to use the expand one here, animation. Then my step 3 will be at second number 5. That's fine. Different animations. Slide in. Oops. Okay. I'm going to choose this one here. 7. And then this one here, second line. And I can use to finish a perspective. So now what I've done is, I've said, okay, my title will always appear along the way, but each of my items that I've selected here my interactions will be appearing in blocks. Like my step 1 will be appearing at second 1, step 2 at second 3, step second 5, 7, and 9. So if I go at the beginning here, I only have my title that appears from the get-go. So if I would play this out, click on the play here, my music, step 1, 3, 4, and 5. And so it's as simple as this. So typically, if you play with your timeline, one of the best practice is as I'm hearing my voice, if I'm talking, about my slide, I can just shoot. I'm talking here. Typically, okay, perfect. It's the right spot. I click on pause. Then now I can click on my interactions that I have, and I can select them. Okay, now they will appear here. And for how long will they be displayed? So I can say they appear until the end. But I could say that after they're being displayed for 5 seconds, I want them gone. So I can choose that that the finish time will be like 5 seconds after they appear on the screen. So it gives you a way to control the appearance either until the end of the narration, or consider that if you talk about many concepts during this slide, you can have things like I need to clear my space because I need the whole space for this. When I explain something new, then I can have these 3 objects here, so then they will appear for 5 seconds, but then go away and clear the page for new things to appear, say at second 8 of that slide with audio. So if I go until the end, now I've got all of my objects, and that was done by clicking on the slide here at the top, and then adding an audio file. Say that you record yourself and you don't like the sound of your voice, or you made a few mistakes, I can always remove my audio track and then record myself again, and then that audio will appear on your timeline, and then now you can just either re-sync things but the best is always have the audio set first. If it's good, then you start synchronizing with audio once you know that your audio is well made and that you won't change it. Because if you change your audio and you change your cues after, it's more work because you have to resynchronize your objects on your slide with the things that you say on the audio track. So now in step 3, now we've covered how to create the infographic from a static perspective. Then next, I said I want to add an audio file on my slide, and then I want to synchronize and add animation to all of my objects to make it more lively. My point 4 that I talked about early on was the theming features, and I'm just going to cover it at a really high level because it has so many options that that in itself we can spend a lot of time on that feature specifically. But to work with typically for most organizations, they might have like, I'm going to just apply my theme color once, and that's fine. All of these things will follow properly. But in Koantic, if you add any of our pages our templates to your course, they will automatically flow and follow your styling guidelines that comes from your branding marketing department. And how you see that is I click on course, manage themes. Like when I click on that on the right, it's a simple platform, but you can see that from the exact same slide. If I would click on other theme colors, then they will flow automatically with the right color. So now they apply these styling guidelines. So all of the themes that we have in Koantic are really meant to follow the best practices, and then make it simple for you to say, hey, I'm using the Koantic templates, or I'm building my own templates, and make them follow my branding and color guidelines. And in our theming section, we've said when we use a color picker, that they follow some colors, and all of these colors are defined here on your theme. So I would say, I can say my accent 1 color will look like this, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And then if I want to change I use on my step 3, my accent 6 color. I can click on that and say, well, I want something different. I want it slightly, pale. then I can just choose another color, and then you can see right away here on the left that my color has changed here, because this step 3 follows the theme color accent 6. So by working with the colors on your theme, make sure that all of your pages will follow your guidelines, and then it will be less work for you, because as you add new things, title box, anything else, they will automatically be aligned with what you have. So I can change it to blue or to gray, and then as you can see, I can just choose whatever I want to, go back to an orange, a green. So that's the way that you play with that. So I want to go into more details in this because it's much more powerful than just what appears at first glance. But as a first step, typically it's something that you do once. You set your theme, your colors, and then usually you don't touch this for months and months on end. But there's a way for you to centralize all of these things in one place by working with themes. So to recap, what we wanted to present in this webinar was just to show you an end result of some kind of an infographic / process flow, how to assemble it from scratch so that we can start using our shapes, our icons, and text to really build it from the ground up. Then on the step 3, we did some add animation, timeline, and then on step 4, we quickly look at theming and how it works in Koantic. So with that in mind, I know it's been almost like half an hour now. I wanted to be conscious of everybody's time. But if you have any questions, or even if they come after the fact, then you can always go through that and then or answer them through emails afterward. But for now, I think that covers today's presentation. And then with that, if there's no question for now, then I'm going to end this presentation. We're going to create we're going to use that video recording from today, and I'm going to put that in the webinar section in the next couple of days, so that you can always go back and see if you've missed a few things on how that was done within Koantic. So thanks again for joining this webinar, and I'm going to wish everyone a great day, and hopefully we'll see you on our next one. Our next one is planned around like mid to the end of August. The topic is yet to be defined, but we'll look at customer feedback on what they want to see the most, and then we will use that for our next webinar about Koantic. So thanks, and everyone, and have a great day.